This episode of Now This Is Lit is brought to you by Audible. Check the link in the description to get your first Star Wars audiobook free. Everyone loves free things. Click that link. Do it. This show is also brought to you by our patrons. If you want to support the show in a different way, with just $1 a month, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/StarWarsLitPod. You can get a sticker. You can get access to an exclusive show that we do every month that's wild and chaotic and fun and something you can only get by becoming a member of the Patreon. There'll be so many more perks very, very soon. But for now, do you want a sticker? Do you want a sticker that has a Now This Is Lit logo? Because it's fantastic and I love them. But I also want to give them away because there's just a stack of stickers on my desk. So if you want one, $1 a month. Patreon.com/StarWarsLitPod. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. You're listening to Now This Is Lit, a podcast about Star Wars books, the people who make them, and the readers who just can't get enough of them. I'm your host, Meg Dowell. I use she, her pronouns. Rebel Rising is one of my favorite Star Wars books ever written. And last week I shared with you an interview with Beth Revis, who wrote Rebel Rising. And I wanted to do that for a long time, and we got to do it, and it was cool. But what I've also wanted to do for a very long time is talk about Rebel Rising on the show, and I've had someone in mind to have this conversation with for a very long time, and that is one of my very good friends, Rachel. It's not very common for me to have people on the show that I actually know in real life, but here's your exception. It's an experiment, if you will. Rachel and I talk about the book, but we also talked about activism and the queer experience and a lot of very important things, and it feels very much like you're sitting down with a couple of friends and listening to them talk about Star Wars and what it means to them, and that is what I wanted the show to sound like from the very beginning, and this conversation is a perfect example of that. It's not all about Rebel Rising, it's not all about Star Wars, but it all relates back, and I'm so glad that we got to do this. If you like more laid-back conversations about Star Wars and things like that, I may have a project in the works that you're really going to love. How's that for a tease? Enjoy my chat with Rachel. Speaking of being drunk, the best podcast episode I've ever recorded was with you.
That one where we were going through the AO3 variants while trashed.
Unfortunately, that was not this show, but if you're willing, those who may be listening, to go look for it, it is probably, I'm not kidding, one of the best things I've ever recorded.
I wasn't even drunk. I'm just chaotic.
The only thing I really remember, and I think I've listened back to part of it, is just me screaming your name at one point because you had read something. I don't remember what it was.
But I wasn't drunk. I was just I was exhausted, so I was goofy. And then you were trashed, and we're like, this is fine. And we sent the audio to David, and he's like, I am never letting them on my StreamYard unsupervised ever again.
That's not something I normally do. That's not really my thing, but it was that night.
Oh, I 100% went to this pride party planning on getting drunk, but I didn't plan on getting as drunk as I got. I thought I could dance, okay? I was a little trashed. My friend who went with me, who shall remain nameless, decided that he'd do karaoke, which he's a fine singer. He just never does karaoke because it terrifies him.
Mm-hmm.
But he signed up and I said, okay, I'll do it with you, because I knew that usually made him more willing to do it, because somebody talked him into singing Bohemian Rhapsody. He was drunk enough, he forgot the words to Bohemian Rhapsody. No. And I'm like trying to aim his head at the television, like, nope. Just forgot the words to Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm like, oh my God. Worse, the party, and multiple people at the party all know my parents, so I'm like, we can't do anything that's not going to be reported back to them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah.
My life, it is a sitcom and not a good one.
I honestly, I feel that. I feel that. I get it. It's been such a terrible year for me that like at this point I just laugh at everything. Happy Pride.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. I don't know if I'm gonna keep this in, but it's hilarious that when I was planning these episodes for June, I was like, I need to be a good ally. And I really need to, you know, have some representation on the show.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it turns out this whole time
the ally to queer pipeline. It's real because I was there. I'm like, I'm not gay, but I'm the best ally. Surprise, bitches, I'm gay.
like,
but I still do like men. Diego Luna, call me.
Such a wild week. I'm having none of it feels real. It's fine.
It's fine. We're good. We just need to schedule more Zoom calls so you and I can talk about shit occasionally. It's good.
Correct. So I don't send you a text message like I did the other day. Just out of nowhere. You were like, we were talking about something else, and you were like, are you okay? Do you need to talk? And my brain was like, actually, there is something I need to say.
You know what? The problem is that it's been you're like the fourth or fifth person that I get a message that's like, can I talk to you about something? And they've realized they're queer late in life. I am the mother duck to all of them. Because I didn't realize I was queer till I was 28. So I've just become like the dead mother of all of these people who are like, I've watched your journey and I think I am too. I'm like, oh, good. Come with me. We don't know what we're doing, but we're going to try.
I mean, to be fair, I've known for a long time, but I just.
Yeah, nope, same. I was like, I thought everybody liked Natalie Portman as much as I did, okay? Apparently, straight women don't feel about Natalie Portman that way. And I told another friend this, and she goes, no, everybody likes Natalie Portman and wants to be with her. And I'm like, boy, do I have news for you.
No. Well, I mean, and then it's like, then you marry a man who you love very much. And it's like, it was just a phase.
No, nope. Just remember, I am queer when I'm dating a man. I am queer when I'm dating a woman, but I'm at my most bisexual when I wear my jean jacket, even though it's 80 degrees outside. And make finger guns at everyone. Since this is a podcast, if this makes it in the final recording, I'm making finger guns at the camera.
This episode is really going to be a test of what do I keep and what do I
rearrange
lock
it.
in.
Just rearrange it a little bit because I actually have some people have a theory that Jin is bi because of a character later in the book, and so we can just.
All right, we're gonna get there. I'm intrigued.
No, the problem is not when I start communicating using hand signals. It's when you can entirely tell what I'm saying only by what my hands are doing.
Yeah. It's a bummer. It's not, but it is a shame that this is not a video podcast.
No,
it's actually
it's really good. Someday we'll do like a live broadcast on Twitch or something, and it's just me talking with my hands.
I've had to actually get very good at not doing that because if I do that, I bump my microphone if I'm not careful. And I learned that very early on. And I'm like, oh, like I need to calm down. So I mean, now of course I just have my hands in my lap.
Oh, if you take away my hand signals, I lose like 90% of my communication ability. We were doing this the other day at rehearsal. I was talking to the director about something and giving him my ideas because he gets my unsolicited opinion whenever he wants it. And I was doing something and I was illustrating with my hands and I'm like, sorry, have to do that. And his wife's like, no, by the end of Lady Frederick, she could literally look at me and like, I need the, and I'd know what she was talking about. I'm like, that means that you've approached my level of crazy. Anyway, Rebel Rising.
It was not a mistake inviting you onto this.
Oh no, I'm never a mistake.
Actually, when I first announced I was doing the show, immediately you were like, "Can I come on and talk about Rebel Rising?" And it took 2 years.
Whenever anybody starts a podcast. Like, can I come and talk about our Lord and Savior Jin Urso?
It took 2 years, but it was
I
worth it.
did during the pandemic. All of my friends were watching Star Wars movies with me because we had nothing freaking better to do. So we'd all get on Discord and start the movie at the same time and watch along and talk. And it was the Easter, so it was right when everybody was supposed to be in isolation, but it was a holiday, so
yeah,
whatever. So I'm like, okay, so we need a story of sacrifice for Easter. Rogue One time. And my friends are like, I think there's some religious implication she's ignoring here, but you know what? It's making her happy. Let's go with it.
Tell me about you've told me, but tell everyone, um, how you got into Star Wars and how Rogue One and all associated media became your entire personality. And I say that as lovingly as I always do.
Okay, so I would debate entire personality except for the fact that I can see a Rogue One poster from where I'm sitting. I see a picture of Jin and Leia as best friends from where I'm sitting. I can see 3 Jin Urso Funko Pops from where I'm sitting. And behind me is a protest sign that I've carried at multiple protests with a Rogue One quote on it. So,
And that was all, for the record, because you guys couldn't see it, but I did. She reached behind her, but that was
yeah,
all
no,
of the movement that was necessary.
the protest sign lives behind the couch for live streams for some reason. Also because I don't clean ever, the protest sign just lives behind the couch. It's fine. Don't ask questions. But yeah, all without moving from where I'm sitting on my sofa that I think's older than I am. It's so as you can probably tell from any intro, my name is Rachel. I became a Star Wars fan when The Force Awakens came out, actually, because I am a horrible Disney show. No, actually, I'm a huge Disney fan, but that's entirely separate from Star Wars. I had seen The Phantom Menace. We kind of took over the TV in my community college cafeteria to watch it because my friends at the time were going to see if how it worked if you saw the Star Wars movies in chronological order, because at the time there were 6 and I was going to be their guinea pig. But we only ever saw Phantom Menace because we liked playing Super Smash Brothers on the TV better than watching movies on it. And I saw that. I actually saw that in the 3D re-release in theaters that year, which would have been 2012, I think. Yeah, 2012. And I had seen New Hope because my boyfriend at the time, a couple years later, thought that I should see it. Excuse me. And so we watched that. We started watching Empire. I think somewhere during the Battle of Hoth, we just kind of got bored and moved on to doing something else because I have ADHD and sometimes that happens. So I had watched like those bits of and had some things, but when Force Awakens started ramping up, it was a big deal. And I kind of wanted to see it because I'm like, it's got a whole vibe. It kind of looks cool from the previews. Maybe let's go see it. I mean, it was Christmas time. There's fun stuff to do. I was a teacher on Christmas break. So we were working on that, and I couldn't actually go with my boyfriend to opening night because I had norovirus. That one where you just, whatever you put in your stomach, it doesn't stay there anymore. Mm-hmm. So I am laying in bed in my apartment while he's at this showing feeling sorry for myself. And I actually got the movie spoiled for me in the comment section of a Scary Mommy article with the picture of Han Solo being stabbed. And I'm like, what the hell? And then, yeah. But then a couple days later, I got to see it. We almost never went to 3D movies unless it was a big one. We'd sometimes do that. Well, I guess we did go to 3D movies, the big blockbusters or whatever, but we were always, cool people that sat back. This showing was packed and we were late because Steak and Shake took forever for our food. So we sat in the front row, like front row, second row, somewhere in there. 3D at The Force Awakens. I loved it. From the first second, I was hooked. From the first second Kylo Ren said words, I'm like, this man has never done anything wrong. I bought my first piece of Star Wars merchandise that week. I had a Kylo Ren mug that I drank my coffee out of for almost every day until I left the school I was working at. But yeah, that was a thing. And then obviously, the next year was Rogue One year. I actually didn't really follow the build up to it very much. I was at the time in the process of a major life change. I was moving in with my boyfriend at the time. I was applying to graduate schools. Right before Rogue One came out, I had accepted an offer for a position with an internship that would pay for graduate school. So I accepted my place in an MBA program in Springfield, Illinois. I was moving to a different city to live with my boyfriend about an hour away. So I was commuting between all these different things. And so it was a couple days after the movie came out when I finally got to see it. And I saw it and I loved it, especially since this was right after the 2016 election. And I was, a little uncertain right then.
Mhm.
I think a lot of us were.
Mhm.
Um, and then somehow it just meant a lot more shortly after that when Carrie Fisher passed.
Mm.
And I was always glad I saw it in theaters before she passed because otherwise I don't think I could have, like, I would have been inconsolable at the ending versus just I cried during this entire movie.
Yeah.
But then as 2017 started and rolled on, I found myself relating back to the movie a lot more, especially when a couple of months later, obviously it dropped onto Netflix and I'd watch it a lot. I was in graduate school, but I was very involved in activism because, like I said, I went to graduate school in Springfield, Illinois. It's the state capital, and there's a lot of political activity nearby. So I was able to be involved in a lot of things when things weren't going a way that I thought they should towards justice in our galaxy or even in our state. And so that idea of making the choice to be involved because it's the right thing to do really stuck with me.
Mhm.
At one point, I was actually really mad that Netflix took Rogue One off um, streaming for a while when they were starting to prepare for the ramp up to Disney Plus because I'm like, no, I need that. I don't want to have to go find my Blu-ray every time I need to watch this while making a protest sign.
Yeah.
I was mad. I'm like it's 2010 or something as I stomp off to go find the Blu-ray. But yeah, it became really, really important to me for that reason and that idea of working towards justice no matter what, even if you know you'll fail. Um, I have used quotes from Rogue One in multiple protest speeches because I used to be a speaker at a lot of them. The idea of that, what chance do we have, even if you know you're going to fail, go in trying. And then obviously, um, God, almost 2 years ago now, when Roe versus Wade fell, Meg texted me, "Big Mad must fix." Um, first thing in the morning, I believe, or no, because I checked my phone on lunch. It was about at lunchtime, and we started stuff rolling. And we started the What Choice fundraiser where we ended up raising $48,000 for abortion access because of the idea that we don't have a chance to fix this right away because obviously we're not Supreme Court justices. If we did, we probably wouldn't be on this podcast right now, I'd hope. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe one of them has a secret Twitch channel where they talk about The Last Jedi.
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
know. Um, but just that idea of the question is what choice? Like you have to do the right thing. Which I might have yelled about. I'm reading The Lord of the Rings right now, and I might have yelled about multiple characters in Middle Earth who are like, yeah, they're doing sketchy shit over there, but I'm gonna stay in my lane. My friend's like, he's literally a talking tree, and I'm like, I don't care, he's problematic. So anyway, that's me. I turned feral for about 12 or so weeks year before, sometime when Andor came out.
Mm.
Feral. I was I was real fun to be around for about 12 weeks. But yeah, I love Jyn Erso. I have cosplayed Jyn Erso, which is really fun because most people don't know who you are, but people that know who you are know who you are. Um, and yeah, she is very, very important to me, as is Rey. And I don't care if that makes me a Disney shell. Actually, if Disney could send me my check, that'd be great. Or actually, I'd just take tickets to Disney World. But yeah, that is most of my story. I've continued. Obviously, I've graduated from graduate school. I'm still very active in activism when I have a chance to be. I do theater for social justice as well and theater for fun. But I always have that idea in my mind of working, taking the next chance and the next until all your chances are spent.
Mm. We're not technically talking about Rogue One adjacent, but every time I watch that movie, I just feel so like hyped to like do something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I adjacent. My favorite musical is Les Miserables, which
Mhm.
I always say that if you do the finale of that musical right, by the time they get to the end of it, you're ready to go join a barricade that you know may or may not result in your death, but you want to do something.
Yeah.
Which I have somewhere. I made a banner for my Facebook because I'm a nerd and I was bored. It was quarantine, don't ask questions. Um, that has the Rogue One team marching out, but it says, "Will you join in our crusade? Who will be strong and stand with me?" It's that same idea. Both stories have that same idea.
Yeah. I didn't just get chills. Ugh.
Sorry, I'm like really occasionally inspirational, and the rest of the time I'm a blithering idiot. So I have 30 seconds of brain power a day. They're not consecutive. I don't get to choose what seconds.
Well,
Just so you know.
I mean, like the thing about Star Wars stories, regardless of what form of media it is if it's not making you feel something, then it's not doing its job. Um, really good Star Wars. There's a lot of good Star Wars, I think. Really,
Mhm,
really, really good Star Wars. When you're done with it,
mhm.
you should be having that moment where you sit back and you're like, okay, I need a minute because that made me feel things.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. And it's not saying that other Star Wars isn't completely valid. I went to
Mm,
go see The Phantom Menace when it was in theaters again, because friends from my last show wanted to go with me, and I
mhm,
like it. I like Star Wars, but that's not my era. That's not
uh-huh.
my jam as much. I love the prequels. Good Lord, they're beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
But the stories of rebellion and resistance are more mine. So like that idea really early on, before it starts to be fighting against that, is not my thing as much.
Yeah.
Same with like Mandalorian. I love the Mandalorian, but it's not my Star Wars the way Andor was.
Right. Yeah.
I watched the Mandalorian for the plot, and by the plot I mean Pedro Pascal's voice.
I watched The Mandalorian for Bo-Katan.
Same most days. And my friends are like, you cannot text the phrase "step on me" 30 times in a row during an episode. And I'm like, I know what Melissa just said the last time she saw Pedro Pascal's face, okay? My various friends who are like, oh yes. I'm like, guys. They're like, hey, Pedro Pascal's gonna be in a Hot Ones. Let's watch Daddy eat some hot wings. And I'm like, why am I in this group chat?
Uh, uh, um, um, let's talk about. I don't have notes for this.
Oh, good.
We're
Let's
just
just
we're just
we're hoping this turns into a podcast. It might not. It's fine.
it will. So I've read this book like at least 3 or 4 times. So like I have a pretty good idea of all of the important things that we
Mhm.
could potentially talk about.
Yeah. So have I. I have not reread it recently, but
Mhm,
I have a really good memory for books, so we'll talk about it.
mhm. Um, I remember I've kind of like lost track of like what my favorite Star Wars books actually are because everyone's like, "What's your top five?" and it changes every time because I don't know. For a while, this one was definitely up there, if not my favorite, because I remember reading it for the first time and being like, "This is the best Star Wars book I've ever read," and it still might be, for me. Um, First of all, I like YA. I
Mm-hmm.
like Jyn Erso. I love Rogue One. Not as much as you, but I did. I saw it in the theater when it came out, and that's, that made me like it a lot more. Um, but also, it's just it's one of those stories that a lot of people are going to say, oh, why was it necessary? Why did it matter? Why did we need more of this? And the answer is, like, did you read the book? Like, did you pay attention to the things that happen in this book? This is why I love it so much. What happens to Jyn in this book? Because in the movie, in Rogue One, you get the sort of prologue, which is when she's very young, and all the things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then the movie skips time, and that's where you meet her in present day. But this book, but Rebel Rising, is that in between, where you meet her right after she's left alone,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of follow her through that journey of, like, how then she then gets to being rescued and all that. And I think, like, you have to see why Jyn is the way she is at the beginning of the um present day part of the movie, because she's kind of just given up at that point,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know why. But this book shows you why, by
Yeah.
making her just go through the worst possible things multiple times over.
Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a big thing. Like, I don't think every character needs a prequel, but I love that they're doing them for both major characters in Rogue One between Andor, and they did it for Rebel Rising,
Mhm.
because it's giving you, we really, because we only get that one movie with these characters. Every other
Right.
Star Wars project you have more time, but you only have that, like, 2.5 hours with these characters in Rogue One.
Right.
So it gave you her story in this book and some of his in the show. And it's really showing you, because you can tell what you need to know about him from the movie, but
Right.
giving them that backstory makes it a lot richer, and it really informs the choices they made.
Yeah.
I think about this. I spent a weekend in my hometown with a friend, and talking about things. It was like watching pieces click to, oh, this is why she is the way she is. And I'm like, oh, good. We've unlocked new lore. But that idea also with Jin is you realize why she is the way she is. And it also gives you some of her quote unquote training montages, because people are like, oh my God, why could she know how to do that? Well, she learned how to do that. She was a
Yeah.
partisan for this many years,
Yeah. Yeah. And, Rogue One is done so well that when you watch the movie for the first time and you see the first interaction between Saw and Jin, and you find out kind of what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But when you read this book and you see, like, all that they went through together, and then for him to, we're going to spoil this book, by the way, for him to, well, actually, it's not really a spoiler if you've just seen the movie, but for him to just kind of leave her
Mm-hmm.
at a very critical moment, and what that does to her emotionally. And then you go back. This is something I love about Star Wars telling stories out of order, is then you go back and watch that movie again, and you're like, oh, like, now I have all of that backstory and understand even more why this interaction means so much to both of them, and why it ends so tragically.
Yeah, and I get there's a lot of Twitter discourse, because one, I refuse to call it X. Two, I'm a addict to social media some days. Um, about Saw Gerrera and what he did, and why or why not it was justified, versus other people who may engage in protest more nicely.
Mm,
And my thing has always been, Saw Gerrera might be doing some of what is necessary versus others. Um, but mainly Saw Gerrera is kind of an asshole to Jen.
yeah.
Like, he's protected her, but that's my thing, is I joke that I end the hating Saw Gerrera club specifically because of this book. But it's
Yeah.
mostly just, I mean, yeah, she was raised as a partisan or whatever, but my niece is 14. In 2 years, I wouldn't be ready to leave her anywhere.
Yeah.
That idea. So, no, this is not a Saw Gerrera haters club because he killed people. This is a Saw Gerrera haters club because he abandoned a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah.
But there is that. And Beth Revis is a wonderful writer. She's become a friend over the years as I talk about Rebel Rising way too much. Yeah, that's why I'm like, yeah, my friend who wrote a Star War, and they're like, your friend wrote a Star War. I'm like, okay, so she wrote a Star War and then became my friend, but it's a long story. But yeah, she actually wrote a book that she and another author wrote a book called Night of the Witch that was really good.
Oh, I love that book.
Oh yeah, and one of them is the best quote of a book I had last year, which really kind of ties into the ideas of Rebel Rising and Rogue One. One of her chapters, the ending the ending quote is, "I've seen evil, but until this moment with Bertram, I had not realized how often it wore the face of apathy."
Oh God.
That idea that you can be evil just because of your apathy.
Mm.
And you kind of have to deal with that with Jin towards the end of Rebel Rising.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you see how often she has to fight again, like fight to maintain her apathy. Because she's like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to, fix this. And then 5 seconds later, she's fixing this because that's just who she is as a person.
Right. Right. It's very much like Kenobi on Tatooine trying not to get involved in anything.
I'm not going to get involved. God damn it, I'm involved.
I mean, that's the thing about like heroes is like they can come up against all of these things that make them want to give up and walk away and not engage. But like what makes a hero truly is like that need to acknowledge the fact that you can't just do nothing.
Yeah. Goes with every time my mother tells me to pick my battles. I actually have a thing that's over a picture of Jenner, so that says, my mom said I needed to pick my battles. I'm full of rage and picking all of them.
Sometimes rage is how things get done.
Oh yeah. I changed the world through a mixture of rage and absolute insanity. It's great fun.
Well, I mean, you mentioned that fundraiser, and like I remember that day because I have big emotions. I feel things all over my body, and sometimes so intensely that I don't know always what to do with those feelings. And that day, I remember I was so just I wasn't feeling like helpless. I was mad, and I don't get mad like that very often. And I was like, I think I need to channel this anger into something that is maybe going to help someone a little bit. And so of course I texted you and I'm like, I'm like, must do something. Must do something. And of course you were like, absolutely, 100%. Let's go. And we did.
Yeah. Also, if anybody saw any of the live streams I did that weekend promoting the fundraiser, I was literally on my last day of COVID isolation when that happened, so I was still feeling pretty weird. So I'm like half dead during half of our press tour, and I'm just organizing everything from my phone while lying down, basically. So yeah, that's the Rachel you got immortalized as this wonderful activist hero. It's me half dead from COVID.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, no, I was I was legitimately just like, it's fine. I'm here. I'm fine. I'm fine. But hey, we made it.
We did. And I think there's just something so powerful. This is all related to the book, by the way.
It really we're
is.
just gonna talk and it'll sort of be related to a book.
The fact that there are so many people so many Star Wars fans who are willing to, because in activism, everyone plays their roles. Everyone does different things. And the fact that there are so many Star Wars fans who will be able to say, like, I want to be involved somehow because I also feel like we can't just sit around and do nothing about this. And that's kind of what happened. And like, it's great that we raised money and it's great that we did all of that. But I think the most powerful thing for me is like, seeing so many people just stand up and be like, yeah, I can't do a lot, but I need to do even a small thing because this is not acceptable. We can't just do nothing.
I mean, yeah, everybody played a part. You did so much of the organizing. I kind of took on a spokeswoman role because I felt like that was something I could do because I've done public speaking and stuff like that. David did so much behind the scenes because he didn't want as a guy to be the face of anything, but he was able to run streams and organize people and did all of that for us. So many podcasts reached out to help us or appear on a stream with us or promote something. So those streams were some of the most fun I've ever had podcasting. We did we had some stuff that we were like, oh, we're gonna organize this and do an organize, and sometimes we're just like, it's gonna be 2 hours of chaos. It's fine.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
I miss doing that.
Oh
I
yeah.
want to do more of it. I mean, because
Yeah.
the world is terrible right now and there's people
Everything's
suffering and I don't know
everything's
what
on
to do.
fire. It's fine.
I mean, do you ever feel like this is completely just we're just talking. Do you ever just like look at things that are happening and people that are helpless and you're like, I want to do something, but I can't do anything? Like that's how I felt so much lately. Just
Yeah.
like watching the news. I mean, everything. There's so many things. And I'm like,
Yeah.
the people should not be living like that. I mean, people aren't living like this. That's the problem. They're not
Yeah.
living.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, go ahead.
I left an activist group that was a big part of my life and my identity last November because they weren't willing to take a stand on some of the things that were happening in our world. And I couldn't do that anymore. I don't take a big stand on it, but being unable to acknowledge something and being neutral on that, it wasn't something I could deal with.
Yeah.
And so that's been kind of feeling unmoored with that. And Meg knows this, your listeners won't if any of this makes it into the podcast, but I do have anxiety and mental health issues, and that didn't help it, is the world being on fire. What helps is me trying to help, even if all I can do is boost Instagram posts for people. But doing something is how I deal with anything. So, but yeah, no, I get it. It's just, that's kind of the one thing that Jin Urso constantly leaves me this with, is that the question is what choice?
Yeah. And it's like if you're in any position to be able to fight for someone who can't fight for themselves, like why would you not?
Yeah. And it's like it's not your problem. Like I was at I'm from a much smaller town than I live in, and we had our third annual little Pride Festival this year, and it's amazing to see the support. But then you get on there and everybody's got an opinion. And it's like, nope, not today, Satan, not today. But I had time today, so I have moderator privileges on the page, so every now and then I go through before the organizer's going to see all of the stuff. And I'm like, and we're blocking you, and we're deleting you, and you're an asshole, and they don't need to see that, and going through it. But it's so important to see what's going on with that and know. But it does feel pretty shitty out there. But I don't remember the quote, but it said something about don't be worried or don't be afraid to raise dragon slayers in a time where there are dragons. And that's the idea. Is I'm not a parent, but I've got a niece, and so I make sure that she's ready to do that stuff. And I take her to Pride every year, and we talk about how it's a party, but it's also a protest.
Yeah.
And yeah, we talk about a lot of that. And I might have given her a copy of Rebel Rising, because every year for my birthday, we didn't this year because I was doing a big show, but we do a reading of Rogue One with all of my friends because there's like 6 of us that read the leads usually and don't double. And then everybody else plays the other like 100 characters in the show. And it's a lot of fun because you're switching stuff so often. But my niece plays Little Jin Urso and I play Big Jin Urso, even though we're both a little too old for it because she's 14 and I'm 32. but we're fine. That's fine.
I mean, eventually, not in this book, but eventually Jin does join the rebellion to in a sense. And like that's, you know, thinking just in Star Wars, like the reason the rebellion exists is because not, you know, you had the rebel cells for the longest time doing their own thing in the galaxy before everyone kind of came together. Rebels is a great show if you haven't watched it.
I
And
am still 3 episodes from the end
oh
because
my God.
Jedi Knight destroyed me emotionally and I couldn't finish it.
I know, but it's worth it. It's worth it. You
I
got
know. I know.
But I also get it. I understand. But the reason that these cells throughout the galaxy eventually came together to form this larger resistance is because you, even in small groups, sometimes it's not enough. You can't change things on your own. And that's why, like, when we're feeling so helpless and like we can't do anything about the world being the way that it is, I mean, that's why we find people who also feel that way. And together we do small things, and then, you know, it's like a chain reaction, or that's the idea anyway. And
there has to be a spark.
Yes.
And I'm sure our $48,000 was not actually like, you know, the thing that will save the world. But I bet it paid off. I mean, that's an operating salary for an administrative assistant for a year that we might have paid for an extra person to be on the front lines.
Yeah. Every little bit counts.
That's why one of the positions I hold is I work with the League of Women Voters, because one small thing you can do is vote, and the more people you get to vote, the better.
Yeah. Yes, that.
This is your reminder: if you're not registered to vote, please check your registration, check your address.
Yep. Now more than ever.
As I'm making finger guns at the camera.
Rachel, I'm scared. Anyway, we don't have to talk about that right now.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we see in the beginning of Rebel Rising like a very, I mean, it's a very militant idea of rebellion, is Saw Gerrera.
Yeah.
Which has its place and it's everything. I just happen to think he's kind of a jerk while being. You can be a rebel without being an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because with Saw, I have complicated feelings, but it's like, dude, I know that you've been through terrible things and you're mad and upset, and like I would be too. But also like you can go
ahead. Sorry.
I just you can take that anger and that grief, and you may be doing some good things with it, but like maybe like more good and less like, you know, blowing things up.
My thing is, there is obviously, I don't think that everything can be, things shouldn't, we would hope that they can't be solved by violence. But some of like the stuff that they were trying to fix in the Senate isn't working at the time. So I can see Saw Gerrera.
Yeah.
My thing is, there's just almost seems like it goes beyond militant revolution, which is one thing that we don't need to debate what qualifies for that or anything. But it's more of, it turns into where the cruelty becomes the point.
Right.
And you can be militant if that is your whatever, as a character, not in real life. Don't use me as an example, for the love of God. But there's a difference between war and war crimes, and like hardline and cruelty being the point. And there are points there that it crosses over into cruelty was the point, and that's not what we want.
No.
I mean, and it's even weird for me to say that I am a big, I have a lot of feelings. I hate anybody being upset. and I've got a big heart, and I've let people hurt me because of it. And it's just that's my thing, is I understand that, there are things that, you know, have to be overthrown in certain ways. Obviously, I mean, I live in America. We had a revolution.
Yeah.
I watch Les Mis. There's a revolution, but there's a difference between revolution and cruelty.
Yeah.
And Saw Gerrera let anger get to him where it became about the cruelty and wanting to hurt the people that hurt you.
Yeah.
Because the one thing I've noticed in Star Wars is that galaxy is real short on therapists.
Yeah. There's like one therapy droid in what's that trilogy? Alphabet Squadron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The most overworked droid in the galaxy.
Really, really. But
But
like yeah. But I remember I don't remember all of it. I haven't reread the trilogy since I read the books for the first time, but like there's like some of the best, like most like therapeutic stuff in there because they basically have a therapist. And it's like, have you ever thought
great.
about it this way?
I'm like, I just got back in therapy to unpack my life. And honestly, they need to give that therapy droid a raise from what I remember of Alphabet Squadron, and I should
Yeah.
probably send my therapist an edible arrangement. My poor therapist, I did my appointment to go officially on as a patient and give her my mental health history and everything. And 12 hours later, my beloved dog died. 3 days later, my aunt died. And I'm just like, I need to send this woman a card.
Oh,
I just need to send my therapist a card at this point. I'm like, hi, I have caused you more trouble than it's worth. I'm sorry. But yeah, that is my Star Wars hot take, is that the galaxy would not be in this much shit if they had just a few people need therapy droids. Get Saw Gerrera a therapy droid, and like he'd be like, okay, so I can do this more efficiently if I don't let my anger rule me, and I'm more strategic and can do it. No.
I I was like listing off. This was like I think last month or maybe 2 months ago. I was listing off all of the things that had happened to me this year to my therapist. And I finished and I just paused and she just goes, that's a lot to grieve. And I was like, yes, yes,
Don't you love it when you make your
yes.
therapist go, wow, and you're like, I've won therapy. Crap, I don't think I'm supposed to make the therapist
Oh,
say wow.
no. But if some Star Wars characters had that chance to even be able to, like, I always think about, and they've dealt with this in the books somewhat, but I always think about that moment in A New Hope when um Leia is comforting Luke because he's just lost Ben, who he just met, despite all that she has just lost. And I'm like, you are comforting someone else when you should be just on the floor. I think about that a lot.
I think about that. I am 100% a person who takes care of others to not think about taking care of myself, because I won't
Mhm.
rely on anybody else to take care of me.
Mhm.
Um, just from past experience, and with having a death in my family very close to the death of my pet, it became where it was more important for me to take care of my family than to worry about myself.
Mm.
And I do like that somebody pointed out that Luke did also lose his parents fairly recent,
Yeah.
well, his aunt and uncle, but
Yeah. Yeah.
so he's kind of projecting at that point, I think. But Leia's just like, nope, we will worry about this later.
Yeah.
Which I could see her, if Jin had lived, I could see them being friends on that
Mhm.
point, that they had both lost everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's I mean, that's even kind of, you see Jin do that, is every time she's like, no, we're not going to think about this. We're going to keep moving forward, which is not healthy. Please talk to someone, everyone. Please talk to someone. But yeah, it's just keep moving forward
Yeah.
and not look back.
Well, because even in this book, she gets to a point where she's like, if I don't continue on, then I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah.
It's just the part of this book that really gets me is, after she's abandoned by Saul and she goes off and tries to do her own thing and then starts to get comfortable somewhere and then loses that. And it's like kind of she's losing everything all over again. And I'm like, I love this book, but why'd you have to do that?
Have you ever yelled at an author about what they've done to you in a book? Because I might have. I'm sorry, Beth, for that conversation. With Hatter and all that. We had a little discussion about that. I
But
guess it's better than her getting her heart. I mean, not better than getting her heart broken, but you know what I mean. For her character, it makes more sense.
Yeah. Well, because again, she had to get to the point where we finally meet her again
Where she
in Rogue
doesn't
One.
let anyone in.
Yeah.
Oh God. So story time. If we have so we read this book, David and I did, and had Beth on the podcast when I made my month of Rogue One content, which is known as David handed me the reins for a month, and it was an experience.
I was there.
Oh yeah, you were there for that, weren't
there.
you?
I
You were there
was.
for that. And David, when God, I can't remember the character's name now, but Hatter's mom, and David's texting me. He's like, "Oh my God, she better not betray Jin. If she's the one that betrays Jin, she's not in the movie, so I'm worried about this. I'm worried she's gonna get betrayed." And I'm like, just keep reading, David. And 20 minutes later, I get a text, Rachel. I'm like, oh, honey, I saw it coming. I just saw it coming and I couldn't stop it. I think that might be the maddest David has ever been at me. So for this book.
Madder than our drunk Star Wars ships episode.
You know what? I think he just listened to that and went, I'm not editing it. I'm putting an intro on it, and they can live with the fact that this is on the internet.
Oh, it's on the internet forever. It's never going away.
It's a thing of beauty. Just a thing of beauty.
This book is so emotional and so important. And it always makes me sad when people are like, "Oh, it's YA, so it's not good," or "It's YA, so I'm not going to read it." And I'm like, first of all, it's just a label for marketing purposes. Calm down. Second of all, I think this is just me and my reading preferences in general, but also Star Wars specifically. I think stories told within this, YA middle grade, I think that's some of the best storytelling we get, because it is very much, yeah, you're telling a story that caters to a slightly younger audience, but it's just as important, it's just as emotional, it's just as heartbreaking, it's just as important for expanding the universe. And
it is.
I love Jin so much more. Like I loved her in the movie, still do. But I read this book and I was like, this is now one of my favorite characters, because it just adds so much to her story, to the galaxy and what's happening at this point. And I think more people should give it a try, especially if you like Rogue One. I'm like, read this book, read Catalyst, read all of the things that have to do with this movie, because it's like more Rogue One, even if we only got one movie.
I loved Catalyst as well. And yeah, I think that was the day that you decided that your husband and I weren't allowed to talk to each other too much anymore, because we're both like, so if you want to compare it to the Manhattan Project, and everybody else on the podcast is like, oh, goody, they're bonding.
You two just became best friends, and I just kind of sat there and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I like Star Wars.
Everybody's like, oh no, oh, they're friends now. Oh, this is never gonna go well. And then I was in your wedding.
Yeah, that's
fine.
That's how it happened. You babysat my dog so that I could have a wedding.
It's fine. I'm a multi-purpose friend, and dogs are great. and I like wearing pretty dresses and doing things.
One of my favorite photos, I'm just going to go on a tangent for a second. One of my favorite wedding photos that we have is, it's just a photo of my dog just laying down in the middle of the ceremony as if she's just saying, this is the most boring thing I've ever witnessed.
For the record, I was trying to move her without making her howl, and she wasn't buying it.
No, because once she's decided she doesn't want to move, good luck.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I walked her around behind, out of the side of the ceremony for a couple of minutes at one point. Morgan had my bouquet, and I was walking the dog trying to get her to participate in life today. And I'm just like, you know what? We're just going to go stand in line and hope that we're good.
Yep.
Fine.
Yep.
There's a reason that my gown I wore in your wedding was 2 inches shorter than the other bridesmaids and had pockets. It was entirely because I knew my job.
Yep. Cool.
Fancy hair? No, Rachel's hair's in triple ray buns down her back. She's gonna need to move, and she's gonna need to move fast.
You were like, can I do this with my hair? And I was like, you can do whatever you want.
This is the problem. You don't. I need like rules, and I have ADHD. I'm probably on the autism spectrum. I need rules and guidance. And Meg's like, do whatever you want, wear whatever you want. I don't care. And I'm like, okay.
I mean, that the whole wedding
stop
party
me.
started to get annoyed with me because I was just so like, I was the most chill bride they've ever seen, and I just didn't care about most of it. And they were like, do you? And I'm like, sure.
I think we just put one of your we put the maid of honor in charge at one point, and we all had our assignment. Like, I think she was on your mom duty.
Yeah.
I was on you duty. We had another bridesmaid on somebody else.
Yeah.
And then I think Morgan's job was to take care of Devore. And
No,
I'm
yeah,
like,
because
it's
he was
fine.
starving. Yes.
I'm like, it's fine. We can just we all have our thing. And we'll check back in 10. Let's go. Yeah. He was starving. I was at Portillo's in hair and makeup for a wedding.
He wanted a hot dog, okay?
I don't care. I was, like I said, I was literally the one who I wasn't expecting originally to be in the wedding party. I just agreed to help out on your wedding day in Springfield. And then you're like, yeah, I joked that I'd walk the flower girl. And you're like, that's a great idea. You'll need a dress. And I'm like, oh shit, what did I do?
And
then it became, oh, we can get a picture of your grandma in the same wedding dress you're wearing, so Rachel can run to Walgreens. By the way, do you mind running to Portillo's? And I'm like, no. So I am in full wedding hair and makeup. I have fake eyelashes glued onto my face. My hair is in 3 perfect ray buns, and I'm in my bright blue hybrid with 5 bags of Portillo's hot dogs driving back to a wedding.
Best
it was
day
fun.
Of my life. Best day
Zero,
of my life.
Just 0 notes. Absolutely no notes. I had a great time. Best day.
Jen Urso never got to get married. That's sad.
I actually, during a pod conversation, I don't remember what it was for. Podathon? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Hell if I remember. We talked to Gary Whitta, who wrote the original story to Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a rumor going around that it was supposed to end with a wedding originally. And he confirmed that that was not his story treatment. He doesn't remember. They always wanted to kill everyone. And so maybe there was like a second ending they had ready if the Disney execs needed to when they went into other things. But no. Also, on the subject of Rogue One, which is not what we're supposed to be talking about, but we could also talk about, have me back to talk about the Rogue One novel, because I have a lot of feelings about that book too. Yeah. But I've lost my train of thought.
No. Rogue One. Weddings. Jen Urso.
Jen Urso. Disney story.
It'll come back.
It will. It'll be in the middle of another conversation.
Yes, exactly. That's how
it'll be at 3 a.m. I'll call you.
Don't do that.
Yeah, no.
I need my sleep, even though I'm unemployed and don't have anything to do.
Oh, I took a 2-hour nap before this. I slept half of yesterday. It was great. I was so freaking tired from Pride. My friend looked at his Fitbit and he's like, yeah, we walked 7 miles. And I'm like, oh, that would explain a lot about how I'm feeling right now.
Despite the fact that I've read this book now many times, I want to read it again because it every time I reread it, because there's always like a gap between reads, I either remember something that I'd forgotten, or I discover something new that I'd never noticed before. Which I think it is a sign of a very good book if you can read it multiple times and get something new out of it each time.
Yeah, that is definitely. I've read it because I try and usually reread stuff before I go on podcasts about it, as opposed with today where I'm just vibing. But yeah, that idea of, rereadability, and I feel like also not only do you get something else from what you notice in the text, but a lot of it is whatever your perspective has changed.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it's important. Like if you reread a book from your childhood, it can be really cool to see how your perspective has changed. Don't do this with movies though, because whatever movie you watched as a kid, I assure you, is either a lot dirtier than you thought it was, or is actually terrible.
No.
I love this book, but yeah. So there is actually, since it is Pride Month, I'm trying to remember if there's any openly queer characters in this book.
Not that I recall, but again, it's been a minute.
Yeah, I mean, there is some idea. Somebody said that they thought Jin could be falling for, I think that's Blue, one of the contacts at the end of the book. And I feel like my new Star Wars theory is everybody's bisexual until they prove otherwise to me.
I like that. I approve of that.
Just, I feel like it would work. I feel like you shouldn't be limited to that by that in a galaxy far, far away. And I feel like she would be pretty liberated. Yeah. Because she and Cassian made out in that elevator, and this is the hill I will die on. Dying on this hill right here. I've spent a lot of time dying on this hill, and I continue to die on this hill.
That's funny. I mean, no one has no one's confirmed that it hasn't happened.
Nobody can prove me wrong, and nobody can stop me. Either that or it's like Titanic, and Hatter is actually waiting for her in the afterlife, like the ending of Titanic. I kind of like that too, though.
That's not the worst.
That's kind of beautiful.
Oh, you should write something.
Oh God, don't start me on fan fiction. It's not good, Meg. It's not good.
Listen, I started writing Star Wars fan fiction, and now we're here. So you never know where it's gonna lead you.
I abandoned multiple stories during the pandemic. My friend and I are like, yeah, we have this really fantastic fan fiction. We haven't updated it for 4 years. There's still somebody subscribed.
No.
It's fine. It's fine. We'll update someday, and they'll be like, I thought they were dead.
No. I've missed talking about Star Wars with you. I mean, we used to talk about Star Wars multiple times a week.
Oh yeah, multiple times a week. Yeah. Now we talk about real life.
Yeah, now we're real life friends.
Yeah, we're friends. Like I said, we did weddings. We hung out. Yeah. I watch your dog sometimes. It was the greatest.
She loves you. I think she's asleep now. Otherwise, she'd come say hi.
But that's fine. She has the greatest eyeliner on the planet.
She really does. I'm a little bit jealous.
I was headed to after I let your dog out. I had a play I was in that night, and I was headed there, and somebody's like, you are covered in a different kind of fur than usual. I'm like, it's okay. I was cat sitting this morning. I was dog sitting this afternoon. It's fine. I'm just vibing.
Definitely have to talk Star Wars more. And have to have you back for more Rogue One things. Catalyst or the novelization or both. I mean, you're just my designated Rogue One person. Anything associated.
Yeah, if Lucasfilm could write more books about Rogue One. You know what I was realizing as we were talking about doing the YA and middle grade novels? One reason I think they work so well for Star Wars is because, like George Lucas said, Star Wars is for kids.
Yeah.
I think out of the movies, Rogue One might be the most adult movie.
Yeah.
I mean, Andor's probably the most adult show.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen The Acolyte yet. I've been very busy. Don't mind me. I need to. But that idea, so there are, even with these adult themes though, it is still for kids. And that's making this idea of being, I don't want to say politically active when, they're kind of starting out their own revolution, but being just trying to change the world for kids. And also because most of the characters that we follow aren't much older than a young adult would be. I mean, Luke and Leia start at 19, Padme starts at 14, and Anakin's 9. Jin's 21. I don't remember what they retconned Cassian Andor's age, but he was originally like 26. I think they made him a few years older because Diego Luna's older, but I don't remember. But it's still like under 30 or 30-ish.
Yeah.
Which feels a lot more grown up until you are 30, and then you're just like, oh, we're still just making this up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, because you and I are about the same age within a couple of months, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, we're vibing.
Yeah. That's all you can do.
We still don't know what we're doing, but now our backs hurt all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
I had to buy another heating pad the other day, but one that specifically like sits on my shoulders because I always hurt like here, like always.
Yeah, that's where one of my friends was came up behind me during the show I did where I was the lead and I was on stage all the time, and was rubbing my shoulders for me, and then he went, "Oh my God, there are knots all down your back." And I'm like, "Do not rub all of the knots out. Don't rub the tension out of my back. It's the only thing keeping me upright right now. If my spine loosens, I'm going down." I am held together by tension, caffeine, and like the one taco somebody brought me an hour ago.
This is why partners are valuable. I just say I need a massage. It's not a can you give me one? It's necessary.
Oh, that's cute. I'm very single. Diego Luna called me.
Just a girl and her dog.
Just a girl and her dog, and I think I might be wearing my Jyn Erso jacket in one of my dating profile pics, which is probably why I'm not getting hits.
I mean, you never know.
That's true.
I don't know.
It's really fun because you can tips that are not actually about Star Wars literature. Sorry. If you ask people their opinion of Star Wars on dating websites, you can filter out a lot of.
Yeah. And then you meet someone on Star Wars Twitter and you're like, huh, that might be a person I want to get to know more. And
then you get married, and then you invite me to your wedding, and then I end up helping run your wedding, and it's now I'm here.
Now you're here.
Now Meg and I are besties, and it's fine. Wow. But yeah. So I think if I remember what I was saying about Rogue One, did you know Gareth Edwards is doing the new Jurassic World movie?
I did not know that. Oh my God.
For people who don't know me, the only thing that I like as much as Star Wars and Jyn Erso is dinosaurs. So I am very excited about this possibility.
I liked the newest one that came out, whichever one that was.
It was kind of dumb, but like,
yeah, it was, but I also had a great time.
That's the thing. I've watched it like 3 times. Every time I cat sit for my ex, he has a giant TV, and I'm like, I'm gonna turn on Jurassic World Dominion. Why? Because it looks fantastic on a giant screen.
There you go.
Do I have thoughts about the plot? Sure. Is Laura Dern in it? Yeah, I'm in. I am a simple woman who likes Laura Dern and dinosaurs. Yeah. I think I've pitched this on another podcast, right? So we find out in Rebel Rising that Jyn spent some time somewhere between like 19 and 21 on Takodana, right?
Mm-hmm.
So probably she would have known Maz Kanata. Remember the old Legends books where they had like Tales of Jabba's Palace, Tales of the Mos Eisley Cantina. Tales from Maz's Castle, I may present to you. You know what? Make it an animated show.
I would love that.
Make it like an animated anthology. Star Wars, call me.
That would be so fun. You could do so much with that.
And I know they don't directly adapt books, but I think that there could be enough like stuff in left out of Rebel Rising. I think we should get a prequel series with Jyn, but since I don't know if we can DH Felicity Jones like that, animated,
There
maybe.
you go. Yeah.
Or recasting. I mean, there's two young women who played Little Jyn, but I just, not that I think that women age any different than men. She's just had a baby or two. I think one baby since then, and probably doesn't have a ton of time.
Yeah, probably not.
But yeah, I think that that could be. I just want to find out that she actually knows Maz.
I would love that.
There's just so many places there. Or
Yeah.
more tragic Star Wars love stories, because I am an absolute sucker for a good tragic love story.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fine. I watched Titanic too many times. It's fine. But yeah, there's that. I'm trying to think of some other favorite parts of this book, but they're all my favorite parts.
It's such a good book.
Other than the fact that Jyn literally makes money by faking casino chips, because she's like, no, screw you. Screw capitalism. It's fine.
I love the parts of this book that are like, Jyn is strong and Jyn can do all these things, and it's like she's, doing her best, but like again, like you don't get to choose sometimes.
Oh yeah,
like
sometimes you don't.
Yeah, she's going through all this stuff because she has to, not because she wants to, not because she's like, I'm strong. It's what else is she gonna do?
Oh yeah, she doesn't have a lot of. What choice does she have?
Yeah, exactly.
I do wish, the one thing I wished made it in the book, it would not have worked with the pacing, but I wanted more of her perspective on the breakout and the ride to the Yavin 4, because I feel like there's a story there that somebody needs to tell.
Oh yeah.
That's what I want. When they do Rogue One from a certain point of view, I want Melshi's ride to Yavin 4 after getting hit in the face with a shovel.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Because he's probably like, okay, I did this as a favor to Captain Andor, and now he needs to owe me a good deal of money. He's like, break out a 21-year-old girl. It'll be easy, he said. No. They did not understand who they were messing with.
No.
That is why I love her so much, because that's her first impression is somebody's like, you want to get out of here? And she goes, yeah. And then she's like, still don't trust you.
No. And why would she?
No.
Why would she?
No, if everybody you trust has let you down or broken your heart or died,
or died.
Or died, which, I mean, honestly, there is a very real thing that she might feel betrayal from that. I mean, anger is a valid part of grief.
Right.
Like, she probably, I think in the book it illustrates, she feels some anger towards her mother because she understands that but it's like, why wasn't I enough? Why did you have to choose to make a stand for Dad instead of trying to help me?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's so sad.
It is. And you don't know what led her to make what choice. And I always feel like Star Wars is really big butterfly effect-y.
Yeah.
Like the smallest choices being made change the entire galaxy.
Yeah.
Which makes us think that in our lives, the smallest choices we make could change the world. So think about making choices when you're making them. Yeah. Try and go towards. There's a quote. It's from the High Republic about whether the choice I'm about to make steers the galaxy towards the better. I think it's from Light of the Jedi. Don't remember.
Possibly. I should know because I just reread that book. But
yeah. But it's just I always think it's a good one to think about when you're trying to make a choice. What choice is going to steer the world for the better?
Yeah. Yeah. And like choosing to, do something, make that choice, even if it doesn't feel like it's going to make a lot of difference for you where you are in that moment, because you don't know what effect it's going to have. And you won't know if you never do anything.
And I mean, you know that in Rebel Rising, the choice that Jin kind of ends the book with is when she realizes she's going to go along with what the rebellion says and try and help.
Mhm.
And then, in Rogue One, she'll make more of those choices. But overall, I mean, their mission, they died not knowing it was a success. And even their direct mission worked out that they got those plans. But more than anything, doing that gave them the spark to fight. So it was kind of a twofold thing. So even if our actions don't always go the way we want to with our specific purpose succeeding, sometimes you can inspire someone else to do something. Sorry, I'm hiccuping because I drank way too much Mountain Dew. But yeah, that idea of you can inspire someone, and that we see that then again in Alphabet Squadron, where Jyn Erso has inspired somebody to do
Yes.
something that you kind of get the idea they named Rogue Squadron after Rogue One, which seems like terrible luck, but
Yeah.
I'm not military. Don't ask me questions.
No, I love that in Alphabet Squadron where you just have the one character who's like Jyn Erso is like the reason that I do what I do.
And I'm like, me too.
Yeah.
Oh God, right before the pandemic, I bought stuff to make a B-Wing pilot flight suit because I was going to cosplay her, but then it's just like the pandemic hit and I never did anything.
No, it's not too late.
It's never too late, but also I just haven't gotten there yet.
You got other things to do.
Yeah, it's like I do way too much or something. But yeah, that's I don't know. I love this book so much and I just want to gush about it and Jyn Erso instead of like following a plot thing.
And I know. I mean, like that most of my discussions go this way, where we don't necessarily hit all the plot points, but we kind of just talk about things we like.
Okay, good. I was worried that I was your world's most chaotic guest
No.
because I'm
Oh
just
no.
I'm vibing.
Oh no.
Yeah.
There, believe it or not, there have been much more chaotic discussions that have happened. There was one recording where we didn't actually start talking about the book until 45 minutes in. It happens.
That's fine.
It
Good.
happens.
Have a good time. Have a great time, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always love me a good Jyn Erso discussion because I have strong feelings and most people are like, who? And I'm like,
yeah.
okay, how much time do you have? I made my friends and I do a mystery movie night because the theater in town does them where you won't know what movie is showing until they start the movie. And so my friend Sarah is a film professor and started this in our friend group. And the first night I got to pick, we watched Rogue One because I was talking about it on a podcast later that week. And I'm like, it's time to roll. And they're like, are you making us do your homework with you? And I'm like, no, not a yes. It's okay. I was my pick again the week before auditions for Macbeth. So we watched the Michael Fassbender Macbeth because I'm like, I'm making you all suffer with me. Meanwhile, out of the 7 of us that watched the movie, 3 of us are in the production of Macbeth. So guess we did something right.
There you go.
But yeah, so I've converted my friends now to Rogue One.
I mean, it's your mission in life, really.
It is. It is. My sister, who likes the movie well enough, but it's not her favorite, has gone to see it twice in theaters with me over the past couple years. When they did the Disney Plus movie release, where it was like a secret which Star Wars movie they were showing, but everybody figured out it was Rogue One because of running time and everything. And then I confirmed with someone before we went, but I took my sister and brother went with me, and then they re-released it before Andor came out, and we went to see it once up in the Chicago suburbs and once down in Springfield because 2 different groups of friends are like, let's go see Rogue One with Rachel. And I'm like, I love that this is now my life.
It is. It's your legacy.
That's great. I have a great time. I just make everybody around me an activist eventually too.
There you go.
My niece walked in a pride parade where having a sign, which mind you was math related too, because it said equals is greater than division for pride. I'm like, and she wore the Gin Urso shirt I bought her in a play. Yeah.
I love that.
Sorry, I'm the world's proudest aunt.
It has been beyond a pleasure to talk Star Wars with you again, because it's always great.
Is. I always enjoy talking to you. We should do it more often.
I know we really need to. We should podcast together again.
I'm always around. Well, not always. Sometimes. I'm sometimes around.
You're sometimes around. I don't know. Do you want to be found on the internet?
Yeah, if you want to find me on the internet, I am generally being chaotic in various corners of the internet. I'm on Twitter at Built on Stardust, and I'm on Threads as, God, do I remember my Threads username? As Stardust Rebel, which is also my Instagram handle.
There you go.
So yeah, you can find me. You can talk to me about Rogue One. You can talk to me about life.
Yeah.
And happy Pride to everyone.
Yeah.
Now This Is Lit is part of the Faraway Fandom Network. It is produced by Devor Mondum and written, hosted, and edited by me. Jose Jimenez designed our podcast art. You can keep up with the show on Substack and Now This Is Lit, and find the show wherever you get your podcasts. There are so many ways you can support the show, and all of those ways are linked in the show description. The newest way is to become a member of our Patreon. For $1 a month, you can get access to an exclusive show and a sticker. And if we get 500 people to support the Patreon per month, I can hire an editor. That would be great for me, and maybe for you too. So if you'd like to support the show with just $1 a month, you can do it that way. Or you can just keep listening and sharing the episodes. That is also helpful, and I appreciate it. For more book reviews and Star Wars Book Celebration, follow Star Wars Book Reviews on Instagram and TikTok.